All right, so what's good, YouTube? Back here again with another video. This video, we're going to be talking about a shoot that I did with my good friend NOLIS as the gaffer. I also did video for this, which I'll probably talk about in a different video. But for this one, we're going to be talking about the stills part of it. This was actually my favorite part of the shoot over the 2 or 3 days. We shot for 2 days. One day was video, one day was photo, and then we had like a scout day. That's what I'm thinking about. But this shoot was very fun. It was for clothing, which I actually have some of the clothing on now from this drop. It was called Beneath the Surface by Joe Fresh Goods. We shot here in Chicago on the west side, and we knew going into this, Joe had the idea that this was some of his darker clothing that he's ever made, or at least with his shoes. So we really wanted a darker look for these images, which I think we did really good while still making it our own. So we had our own set that they built. I forget the name of the company who built the set, but I'll put it in this video or down in the description. But they built this set specifically for this shoot, which helped us a lot. We had windows where we wanted them. We also were able to just put lights wherever we wanted to because we had our own set, which is love for anybody who gaffs or anybody who lights. You know that having a set built specifically for what you want is very beneficial because you really get to just put things where you need to be in order to execute what you want. But let's get into this video and let's look at some of the images that came out of the shoot. So we started off the day on the right side of the set. We wanted to kind of move around the set without kind of being everywhere, so we could light for one section of the space and then we don't have to light it anymore. So we started off in the corner with this first look, which was super cool. For the most part of the shoot, we used strobe lighting, but we also had some continuous light to help us out to get more colorful with some of the shots. And in this first shot, you can see through the window, we have this orange gradient, which I liked, everybody liked. And this is coming from my Aperture P300C, which is a RGB light made by Aperture. It really came in clutch, and I think we had this at maybe like 10% output, and then we shot it against a white wall. That way we could literally change the color to anything we wanted, which was pretty clutch. And then for the key, we mainly had our softbox that went with our Pro Photo lights for the shoot. I believe we were using the B10s or maybe the B10Xs. I could be wrong, but they were just strobes, pretty low power. I don't think we had any big strobes other than we had an overhead, which you'll see right now. We had an overhead, which we had 2 strobes shooting down to give us kind of like a fill layer in the room. And then we used our key light, and then of course we got the continuous light on the outside of the window, which came out pretty dope. In this next image, you can really see how the orange light played a big role in these photos. We wanted it to be kind of surreal, which I think we did a really good job with. And he's just looking out the window. You see the orange in his eyes. You kind of see the orange hitting his skin, which I was super happy with this. You know, when you're lighting, you want to try to see how you can make an image contrasty, whether that be, you know, through camera settings or through lighting. I think I prefer with lighting, especially with clothing, because when you add different colors into clothing, you really get to see how that clothing actually looks. The clothing that we captured had patterns on it. It was green. The opposite of green is purple, but if you move a little bit over, you'll be at orange in the color spectrum. And then we also had orange curtains So the orange curtains with the orange light, it just really looked super, super cool. It just added a lot. You see he has an eye light, which we wanted to keep going. And then of course you can see that the fill light coming at the back of his head to really just make it more three-dimensional, which I really like. So for these next images, they're pretty much just close-ups, detail shots of the clothing, which we wanted to do in order to emphasize some of the clothing, logos, which most of these were pretty much just the overhead lights with the key light pointing off to the right or off to the left, so that we get like a gradient with the light going across to give it more depth. Next up, we have the shoe shot, which is pretty cool. And this is actually a mixture of continuous and strobe. So we had one of my 600Xs outside of the window, shooting through the window, as well as another pro photo light shooting through the window. And this, we used a continuous light for reference where the shoe should be, and then the strobe light was actually what was giving us a lot of the punch, if I remember correctly. Either way, we had a light outside, which actually made this really, really cool. We got some hard shadows, which I really think made these photos pop a lot more. So for these shots of him sitting down, we literally had one softbox and then of course the continuous light outside to really have that orange feel outside of the window, which was pretty cool. And again, more close-up shots. And then this shot, which was really cool. I think this is where we started to realize that having light coming from the window really was a nice touch. Because you get these hard shadows, and then we also were able to have our softbox just off to fill in some of the dark spots, but this was pretty cool as well. And for the most part, we kept this going. We wanted the images to be, consistent, and so we pretty much just kept the same lighting setup for most of these photos. So I'm not going to talk too much about them. And so now we'll go to the other side of the room. So now we're on the other side of the room. The clothing's changed, but we are trying to keep it consistent to the point where, it still makes sense if we're looking through a lookbook. And so we still have the orange outside of the window. That's another P300C. I have two of those, so we don't have to go back and forth with that. And then, let's see, we had the softbox hitting off camera white, right? And then NOLIS was actually outside of the set shooting through the window for these. We also, if you can see, we had more light shooting through the window too to give us that light on the back wall, which definitely lifted those shadows a lot more, because these images are a bit darker than the other ones. And then for these images, which I really like the this sweater and everything, just the design. We just had light coming through the window, shooting through, just to highlight the clothing and some of him to really just make the clothing pop a lot. Now, with these images, you see the sticks on the ground, which was NOLIS's idea, which I really think brought a lot of flavor to this shoot. But same thing, we were shooting window through a light. We had a cookie with these against the wall, so or cuckolores, whichever you go by. And we just shot some continuous light through that and through the strobes to give us a little bit more of a gradient on the wall and shooting through with these. And for these other ones against the wall with the cap, the skull cap, we just had a softbox literally shooting down that wall to give us a highlight and a gradient going down, as you can see, which was pretty cool. And that just about wraps it up for this is one of my favorite shoots that I've ever gaffed. I just want to shout out everybody that was involved in this shoot. I really want to shout out to NOLIS for trusting me, for having me on this shoot. This was one of my favorite shoots that I've done as a gaffer. That's gonna be it for this video. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I hope to be putting out videos more often as much as I can. I have a lot more shoots that I've gaffed, and I would like to talk about them a little bit more, to really just think through and also learn from, you know, some of the things I wish I would have done during these shoots. But for shoots like these, I think it's very beneficial, especially something that goes out for the world to see. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.